Hola, buenas tardes a todos. Comenzamos y seguimos con el Food Design Festival del año 2022. Hoy tenemos con nosotros a Linda Carobbi desde Italia y a Andrea Bariselli, ambos dos. Linda Carobbi pertenece a la empresa TurismiAmo y Andrea a la empresa Bariselli. Van a tener una charla entre ellos en inglés, en este caso, un poco informal para ver un poco cómo podemos reconectar a la madre naturaleza con las personas y qué puede salir de toda esta conversación, que yo estoy convencido de que va a ser algo muy interesante y muy provechoso. Os dejo con ellos y Linda, todo tuyo.
Perfect. Thank you, Juanjo, and good afternoon to everybody. Just a brief introduction as far as myself, and then I will leave the word to Andrea. I'm Italian, as Juanjo just said, and I'm based in Florence. And I have been dealing with international logistic and forwarding for agri-food for more than 20 years. Especially with a special focus on fresh fruit and veggies. So I started to understand, to better understand this sector, not only as a consumer, but also behind the scenes. So I learned the beautiful dynamics and processes that are behind the supply chain, the entire supply chain of the perishable goods. I am also one of the co-founder of Italian Women Association of Fresh Fruit and Veggies, which is a no-profit one. Then I am also part of Global Women Fresh, another international association of women engaged along the entire fruit and veggies supply chain. And I am one of the co-founder of TurismiAmo. TurismiAmo is an Italian company that deals with territorial marketing and destination management. One of our pillars is to enhance the quality of life of the territories and the communities that live in a territory, and trying to help a destination, a territory, to become an attractive destination, also thanks to the culinary excellence that one territory certainly have. So for us, let's say the enogastronomic kind of travel and tourism is one of our pillar. And I'm very, very, very happy to be here for the fourth time here in Food Design Festival. And now I leave the word to Andrea so he can introduce himself and his company a little bit, and then we will start our chat. Thanks.
Thank you, Linda, and thank you, everyone. Yes, my name is Andrea Bariselli. I'm a neuroscientist. I used to deal and work with brains. I started 15, 17 years ago, first here in Italy. Then I've been for 4 years in California with my previous startup. Then I left the company and I founded a new one 1 year and a half ago. We tried with this new deal to embrace as larger as we can the complexity. So we are very good today and very able to understand brain's reaction, emotions, processes, and every stuff like that. But we need to overlap the data that comes from the brain with the entire environment that surrounds us. So we need today to try to connect, to create these invisible links between us and the planet. And we are the guys that today has this tool to try to enhance this beautiful connection and use these to promote or better understand how we can today take a new direction. So neuroscience is part of my life, but my entire life is dedicated to be outdoor. I don't like to be sitting down in an office in front of a laptop. So I would like to spend all of my time outdoor if I can. That's because we live in a beautiful world and we need to protect it. So this could be part of our talk today. And thanks, Linda. We are very friends, so it could be a pleasure and even a nice time to spend in this hour together.
Absolutely. So thank you, Andrea. I would start from this, since Andrea, you are dealing with brains since many, many years, so you know, let's say, quite well how the brain works, provided that we can know how the brain works quite well. So I would like you to explain us how is it possible to measure, let's say this, the reaction of the brain, of human being brain, in particular situation where we are more in connection with Mother Nature. Being this like tasting a very natural food, or being just in the middle of wild nature. So how what are, for your experience, the kind of reaction that the brain has when the people are in this kind of situation, and why is it important nowadays to measure this kind of reaction for the companies?
It's a very complicated question. So let me start point by
But
point.
you are very
First,
good.
yeah, I know. Thank you so much. But first, let me introduce you about the tools. What kind of devices we use to understand brain's reaction. You know that in our brain we have a lot of cells called neurons. The neurons talk to each other in a sort of electrical and chemical way with devices like EEG, electroencephalogram. It's like a microphone. We can capture the brain's reaction. So all the electricity that are spreading out in our brain when the neurons communicate to them. So let's say we can split our brain in different portions. In each little portion, we know that a group of neurons, a network of neurons is deputed to a specific, task. For example, in our frontal lobe, we have our cognitive and rational status. In our left part, for example, here, temporal lobe, this is the site to better understand and comprehend and produce words and languages. So we know that in specific areas, we have specific computational networks of neurons. Let's say, once we know that, we can measure and understand by our tools what kind of electricity, what kind of connection all the neurons and networks are producing while they are working, and we can introduce this electricity into algorithms and then metrics. What kind of metrics? We can understand using these kind of tools? We can understand two big words. One, on our side, we have processes. So that's the way from our brain takes information from outside and gives to you an output, or the way that you perceive the reality. And the other big word is emotion. So once we are rational status, and the other one, we are machines that are completely surrounded by emotions. And curiously, our brain can do all the same processes at the same times. So, or you are immersed into an emotion, or you are thinking to something, which is a big, for example, mistake that sometimes in the marketing are committed. People think that once you're reading something or understanding something or think about something, you at the same time proving some kind of emotion. But biologically, you can't. Or you are into a cognitive or rational, process, or you are into an emotion. So we use these tools pretty in every situation. So we use while people are driving cars into a racetrack or into Madagascar, or we're in Kenya with Nike marathon teams, and people who eat pretty everything in all the parts in the world. And our job is to connect the insights or the emotion or the process that people prove in a specific situation to the external condition. So the difficult part is that your brain didn't care nothing about what you are doing, or she, I don't know, didn't care pretty anything. His role is just to do a process that is called energetic balance. So his role, or its role, let me say his, so I start, probably it's a male, and his, I don't know yet, or its role, let me say, is just to be oriented to let you survive. What it means that it didn't care about if you are eating, driving, reading a book, or watching TV. He just taking information from outside, temperature, humidity, level of CO2, noise, everything, and process all these, source of data, and gives to you an adapting situation. It seems to be a little bit, out of our, topic, but we are completely overestimate the brain processes sometimes. That's because at the basic level, our brain, our body is just involved all the time to survive. So if you are comfort enough, if you are in a perfect situation, if the environment that surrounds you are comfort for you, probably you have a good chance to enjoy the situation. And sometimes we take the people to another level. No, we think that we can measure people while they're doing, I don't know, eating, reading, or whatever. But for example, you are sitting down in a room with 30 degrees or too much noise or whatever, and you think that this part can't take away from your brain status, from your cognitive status, a portion of your cognitive capacity. So once we discover that, we try to better understand what are the perfect environment and what is the connection that we have with the environment. That's because this kind of biological adaptive system was born, let me say, was created. That's because we were born into nature. And once we were for thousands of years surrounded by the forest, our biological structure and our brains, our cell, and our everything are completely deputated and oriented to this kind of adaptive system. So the more we push the people to a new or modern, let me say, kind of lifestyle, the more our brain try to answer and respond to the previous or ancient styles. So that's because we are completely oriented with this system. So today we are trying to rebalance that, and we have tons of examples that we can show to you. For example, that our brain is completely oriented to prefer, let me say, environment, products, or whatever that are perfectly overlapping with nature. For example, in your occipital lobe here, the right part, me, even you, and everybody, has a part of the brain which, yes, well, probably yours is better than mine, but which is completely deputated to recognize landscapes. So that kind of part of the brain can detect and tell the difference between a natural landscape and an artificial landscape. And guess what? This part prefer a lot more and far more the natural landscape. Why? They say that's because this is home for us, no, for our brain, for our body, and so on. So it can detect and know that, okay, like this, I don't like that. So you can force yourself, for example, to like or try to be in a completely different environment, but even your brain try to force you again to come back to your, natural track. The natural track is to be, overlapping, as we said, with nature.
No, this is amazing. Since we are in the food design festival, I would like to make a sort of joke with you, okay? So let's make an example. Talking about food design, okay? I guess that for a restaurant or for a chef or for a company that is somehow producing, so that they are somehow involved in the food. Let's suppose, for example, that a chef would like to try to test the reaction of the people towards a certain plate rather than another one, and he would like to better understand if the majority of people would prefer the first plate or the second plate. So, your kind of activity, this kind of technology, completely natural, because to the brain of the people, it happens nothing if not just the EEG, sorry. So, I guess that for a chef, this would be extremely interesting because he could taste and he could test, the reaction of the people, even more to insert, to include a certain plate in the menu or not. Am I right somehow?
Yes, you are. We can surely do that, and but we have multiple layers to answer this question. The first, we can detect what people prefer the most. So one dish to the other one plate to the other one taste to another one, and so forth. But the big problem for us today is, for example, are people familiar with some types of flavors, for example, or do the habits of the people try to pull them back to the previous, familiar taste that they have? Let me say, for example, if we take a super organic natural product that comes from a remote valley here in Italy, a cheese or whatever, and you give to the people, to common people into the street, that kind of particular cheese, it's not guaranteed that people are going to prefer or like that kind of product, even if it's super natural. Probably because it's far away from the taste, from the common taste that all the people has. That's because they are not familiar with that kind of food.
Not familiar.
So if our habits are really pregnant in our in our lifestyle, and we are totally let me say surrounded by that kind of food, junk food, super tasty, salty, umami or whatever. Is our brain able to tell the difference? Is our brain able to rewire the connection to prefer and associate a specific types of food to a specific, sustainable chain of producing of food? So the role today of the science, is the role of a restaurant or people like you and your organization and so forth, is today to give more education. What kind of education, what kind of storytelling we can produce to enhance or let the people be in contact with this kind of information? Because it's really hard. A lot of people can say, oh, I like super natural food, super tasty or whatever. But once you try and you give to the kind of people specific or particular types of food, sometimes they are really not liking. So how we can today try to reconvert or reuse this data to better understand the connection? Because it's not easy. We can say, for example, that yes, for sure, we need to go into the direction toward of organic food, natural food, vegan or whatever, and I like it, this kind of direction. But sometimes this kind of food is not affordable. It's not completely, they don't have the nutritions for all the people that can afford daily. We have the problem or so on. We have a lot of possibility. So I don't want to say that we have no chance. At the contrary, we have a lot today of data and possibility, but we need to join, to make connection with these networks as you, other people, that to create a sort of not movement, but to leave all the people the personal drama and to say, yes, I like that kind of food, but today I would like to spend my money or to give my money to this producer, this local producer. That's because in a short chain, it's in my neighborhood, and we need again to reconnect people with that kind of food. Just to conclude this topic, the big problem even to us is people are not aware about, they don't know nature. So they see nature through the pictures. They like, they like. But if I show to a lot of people, common people, even here in Italy, the three most common types of trees that we have in our country, none of them can tell me, okay, this is chestnut, this is oak, or this is whatever. So what are we talking about? We are all talk about nature. We are all talk about, okay, sustainability, organic, blah, blah, blah. But we are not familiar with natural world. So, or we are really able today to let the people in contact since where they are child or kids with nature, and get them familiar with the kind of environment, or it's just a lot of speech or good, talk that we can make. It doesn't impact.
No, I totally understand and agree. I am the one, unfortunately, that I am not able sometimes to recognize the tree. So actually, I am the one that I am the one to be
born in Florence. That's because we're born in Florence.
Exactly. Because, as you know, in Florence, we have just Cascine Park, but there is not so much nature. But and for example, another example, if I would like to open a restaurant, so of course, the restaurant can have a typical. Could be, I don't know, maybe painted all in blue or all in red, or a typical white one, etc., etc. Does this technology can somehow drive me to create a sort of a surrounding, a sort of place where the people feel more comfortable, because their brain are telling them, okay, you are in a beautiful place, relax and enjoy your dinner or your lunch, of course.
Absolutely, yes. We work a lot with design and architecture, for example, even here in the US. Today, we are following and leading with other people, especially in the UK, the biophilic design field of application. So to use natural elements that can mimicry, let me say, the natural world to let the people be comfortable. Again, if we are able to don't imitate, but in some time try to be in an environment that can, the brain knows that you are in an indoor situation, but there's different types of indoor situation. You can be in an indoor situation with lights that can be horrible, or you can be in a natural lighting situation where people feel comfortable. That's because all the elements inside are perfectly fitting to that kind of situation, and then helps a lot to obtain a sort of positive output of the people of the experience. So most of the time people focusing on the product but not about the context. We are doing vice versa. We work a lot, and sometimes especially with the context, and then try to working on the product.
This is great. And because again, sometimes I feel that when I go to have dinner or lunch in some places, in some restaurants, I mean, there are some places where I feel more comfortable and I really enjoy also the context, rather to the further to the lunch, of course, to the food, but also the place where I am when I enjoy the food counts a lot to me. And I think that it counts also for my brain, no? Because if I see a restaurant where I am not I do not feel comfortable because maybe I do not like the color, or I do not like how it is, how the tables are disposed, or blah, blah, blah. I guess that my experience, my food experience, is somehow impacted in a negative sense, in a negative way from the, let's say, the wrong, for me, of course, for my brain, the wrong context. And Andrea, could it happen that my mouth, as far as the taste, says, wow, I like this food a lot, but for the same food, the brain says, I don't like it at all? Can it happen, or is it something impossible?
No. It's frequently happen, and in the example that you made 2 minutes ago, for example, if you are into a restaurant and there's a lot of noise, what is the right amount of noise that your brain can tolerate? There start to be discomfort. There's a limit, which is, for example, 70 decibels, and 70 decibels is a low conversation between people. Up to this level, the noise start to be a little bit, let me say, non-comfortable, yes, in the situation, and your brain needs to use a portion of the cognitive status to isolate the noise, yes, that surrounds you, to be focusing on, the people that's in front of you, the conversation you are making, and so forth. So if you are immersed in a super complex environment like reality, so we have a lot of elements. You have lights, the quality of the air, which is a super huge topic. Maybe we are going to talk about it, and the noise or whatever. How many portion of your cognitive status that you need, for example, yes, to deputate to your activity, are involved into isolate you from reality? That's because the reality is not well or properly made for your experience. So sometimes it's very, let me say, most of the health of your portion is completely dedicated to isolate you and make you more comfortable. Too hot, too cold, there's a wind situation, there's a noise or whatever. So we are focusing on food. Probably you have a bad experience dedicated to the kind of the product. How can I say that the kind of experience is completely related to the taste or the experience that you made to the food, toward the food, and not, let me say, contaminated from the whole experience that we are submerged? So we have the possibility today to split, these two big topics. I know that seems to be tricky, but it's complex. We live into complexity. We try to make it easy. People, marketing, everyone want to have an easy answer and an easy question sometimes, but it is not easy. The brain is super much complicated. We live immersed daily in every second into a super complex environment. We try to make it easy. We have a tool that make it easy. So we have metrics, algorithm, we can generate rebirth, try to give a simple and easy answer, but sometimes we can. That we need to accept the idea that we are a complex machine and we need complex tool today to better understand. So that said, I like the idea to try to recreate the perfect experience. And the perfect experience sometimes is fitting for everyone. So it's not depending if you were born into Alaska or Madagascar or Florence. That's because our structures of our brain So the biological part of our brain is identical for everyone. So the way that my brain and my body respond to the noise, to the light, to the temperature, for the CO2 level is completely identical for everyone. And now an upper level, yes, we have social, economic, political, or educational, whatever differences, but the lower level, we are completely identical. So if we are working today, for sure,
wow.
we are the same identity. So we identified this 6 or 7 years ago when we were in Africa. That's because I like the idea to better understand what is the first reaction that you have. And the taste for sure is related even for your education. So if you never tried a specific type of food or specific type of taste, for sure it's difficult to you to better understand. But are the kind of reaction deputated to your primary instinct to survive or to be adapted into nature? For example, the bitter is related to something which is poison your brain and your body. So the bitter it is, sometimes the better it is for your brain. Even people, for example, like the bitterness, think about the beer or whatever. So different types of elements, different tools that today can detect the difference. So we have today the possibility, and more than this, we have this platform that use predictive algorithm. So once we know the promises, once we understand what kind of environment we are facing, we can imagine, we can tell the people what kind of output, we are going to have. So take this kind of promises, then we can work on the product.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this is extremely fascinating, a little bit complicated, of course, but I mean, the brain is complicated, so it's okay. And according to your experience, do you think that people and companies are somehow ready to tackle these kind of challenges? And maybe you found that, for example, you found some countries or some continents which are more ready to tackle this kind of challenge, because I think it's a challenge. Because I mean, I can think about a company that is producing food or that is trying to have a positive impact in the world from a sustainable viewpoint. Nowadays, everybody speaks about sustainability. Exactly. But according to your experience, are there any country or continent which are more ready to this kind of, to study this complexity and then somehow use the outputs that they can have from your measurements to improve their marketing strategy, their sales strategy, their production strategy? Because I guess that, for example, if I produce apples and I produce 10 types of apples, green and red, and I produce a lot of them, I can imagine maybe that thanks to your measurements, I can somehow get an output where I can see, oh, let's see, the green apples are more appealing towards the younger generation, while the red ones are more appealing to the older one. Just to make an example, of course, I don't know which the result would be of your measurements. So, I mean, we live in Italy, and I would like to know from you if you found some Italian companies or territories ready to tackle this kind of complexity, or maybe you found them more in UK or in Spain or in US. Just let us know, because to my opinion, we really need to be innovator in order to embrace the kind of technology that you are providing. But to me, is exciting. I would love to know more about it. I am not a scientist, as you know, but I'm really attracted from what you do. So tell us if you have any good experience you want to share with us.
I don't know how to say, but after
Be honest.
more than yeah, absolutely, I will. After more than 15 years that we used to work for big multinational brands all around the world, and even small producers, communities, and so forth, I don't know if we really want to make this kind of difference. That's because sometimes, money wise, to invest into sustainability, to change direction, you need to invest a lot of money. Sometimes the return investment is lower than before. And for that reason, probably I'm going to be wrong, but I don't think that we are all change this kind of direction so fast as we need to change today. We have a lot of big problems, food security, for example. So there's a lot of people that can't afford daily one hot meal, sorry, for daily, sorry. And we have a lot of problems about in food industries. That's because we are too many people in this planet today. There's not a big,
Not a secret.
there's not a big secret.
Yeah.
And probably the best communities they found in my career and in my life, even like person, it was in the rural, super rural countrysides of the countries in Africa, but even here, some rural communities in Italy or in Spain or in other places in France or sometimes in the UK and some places, for example, in California, these new kind of hippies that are living in these new types of manure. Probably they are trying to reinterpret the way to be or living in really in contact with nature. It doesn't mean to be super integralism, that okay, I don't like to do this, that, and I like to make money, I don't want to make my business. It doesn't mean that. Where is the right compromise between my life, my business, my career, and the respect that they need to have to all the other people on the planet? It's difficult today. That's because sometimes the companies need to answer to some kind of rules, market rules, to be competitive, to be able to be present in different markets, to have a product which is affordable. So sometimes it's lower cost. The lower cost, for example, in a supermarket means that for the producers, they're going sometimes to work under, the cost of producing the food or the vegetables and so on. So it's difficult. I don't believe that big multinational brands are today ready to do that. Probably they don't want, or just taking. For example, think about the question of the CO2 compensation or the carbon footprint. So they are planting a lot of trees to compensate or overcompensate the CO2 carbon footprint, but the big problem is not to plant the trees, is to no more producing CO2. So this
but
is
we are producing it by speaking.
which is completely crazy. So they are producing CO2 and planting trees. Okay, plant trees is fine, but the big problem you need to stop to produce with carbon footprint with petrol, oil, gas, or whatever. No, guys, we need to stop it. So.
Yeah.
Is my business, is my company ready to do that? And if I need to set this compromise or this constraint, it doesn't mean probably that they need to stop to earn a source of money that come from the kind of market. And the bad part of this to me is the resources of the source of the money comes from nature, comes from the environment. The more we subtract the kind, it seems to be free, but this is not free. This kind of resources from the environment, the more we are paying the cost, maybe not in the developing part of the planet, but maybe in the poorest country like Africa, sometime of Africa, South America, and so forth. I don't have the solution, but the solution to ours is probably to talk not to the elder generation, but to talk more to the newest generation and to give hope to them, to educate them. I don't think that the elder generation want to change direction, and bad enough they are leading the most biggest company in the world. We need to talk today to the guys of the newest generation. Think about COP26 in Glasgow in the last November.
Yeah.
A lot of super leaders in the world are sitting down in these places talking about the future. Outside of the building, 2,100 people, young guys, are shouting to them. They need to understand what is our future. If these leaders want an answer, they just need to open the door out to the guys. They are out of the building, so they don't need to discuss each other. The answer is outside. You have the guys. They are leading the world. They are the new generation. They are leading the planet. So they are the future, which is already our present. So the role of the science today, like us, you, and other, is what kind of data we can provide to policymakers, administration, companies, or what and so what. They really want to preserve nature and environment and educate the new generation to be in contact with these specific types of topic. It's not easy. So we are data producer, let me say. Okay, we have super reliable. So what can I say? I can tell to the people, if you like, pasta, ragu alla bolognese, or other types of Italian food, and so what? So I can say, okay, it's funny, it's nice. I have my restaurant. I can try to optimize my menu, but I am really changing the situation. So the question is in an upper level to us. So yes, we can, but we need to think even to other different types of strategies.
Yeah. No, it's totally understandable. Yesterday, Andrea, I had one of the speech that I had yesterday in the Food Design Festival was with this vertical farming in Italy. They are capable to produce, to reconvert the CO2 that can be collected within a museum that is naturally produced from the people. They are able to reconvert it in strawberries. Because of course nice. It's unbelievable. I will have to introduce you to them. And sure. So it's no, you're right. The problem is the CO2. So okay, you can plant thousands and thousands of trees, which is good, of course. I'm not saying that it's not good, but people is producing CO2. For the fact that we are living and breathing, we are producing it.
CO2 is killing us. So CO2 is killing us, you guys. Exactly. So we do regular choices. So once we let's be concentrated to be this topic. So I can work daily, sending in emails, maybe making this call or do this webinar and so forth. And I read an article from The Guardian a couple of days ago that there are new plans to open up different sites of fossil carbon extraction all around the world. In the next 5 years, the 10 big companies of fossils are going to extract 200 different new sites of this kind of, not renewable source of energy. And I start to realize to myself, okay, what we are doing wrong. So I can try to change the recipes of my menu, but if the big guys didn't change completely the politics or the economics, there's no effort probably we can make a huge or a big impact for sure. But if we are completely all together and joining us, we can make the difference. But I don't know if today we are so, let me say, linked and so you intended to make the difference all together. And we will see what's gonna happen. So my only hope is to think about new generations.
No, it's complicated and definitely complex. We cannot give an answer today, of course, because we are not in the position to provide it. But we hope, thank you, Andrea, for this nice conversation. We really hope that we somehow make some curiosity to the people that listen to us, and that people is now even every day more and more aware that if we do not start to change something, really, we don't know what kind of planet we are going to leave to your sons, my nieces, and to the next generations. So thank you very much, Andrea. It was, as usual, a real pleasure to talk with you. And again, thanks to Food Design Festival for hosting us today. And we remain at disposal for any kind of issue or questions.
Thank you very much, Linda and Andrea. Right now, we only have 2 comments. Let me show you. Okay.
With pleasure.
Yeah, Fabiola is talking about the new generation. Fabiola. And of course, living in value is the answer. So you want to say anything about this comment? Please.
I fully agree. And what kind of values so we need to teach to the guys. It's always impressed me when, for example, we take little kids or child that was born and raised into big cities into a natural environment. So at the beginning, they start to be completely worried. So they like, for example, if you see a documentary on National Geographic, but if a mosquito comes on the arm, they are a bit scary, no? So this kind of detachment that we have from natural environment must be filled. So we must be in contact with natural environment, natural product, natural taste, and so forth, and force people to be in contact with. At that point, you start to make click and to have some kind of insight. So just to conclude, it reminds me, in the last September, I was in London for the Biophilic Design Festival. We're part of blah, 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 beautiful. We have 5 days of talks about nature, sustainability, and so what. At the end of the day, at the end of the topics, we talk a lot how we can preserve resources, to not waste food, to create, smart cities, and so forth. At the end, we were into Granary Square next to King's Cross, a beautiful area of London, full of restaurants and so forth. A lot of the people start to say, this evening we're going to eat sushi, we have Mexican, we have whatever. So we were in downtown London, okay, we have, I don't know, hundreds of different types of food, probably not sustainable, food that come from all the parts of the world. If in the afternoon, in the morning, we'll talk about sustainability, why the evening we need to be, to make party? And I like to make party, guys. Come, Botillon in Spain, when they were in Spain, and so forth. But we need to make different choices. Probably, I don't want to say that I need to eat sushi no more, but it's that point that hundreds, thousands of people daily, we are all agree on the direction, but none of them are following daily. That is probably the values and the habits that we need to change. It's not from today, from tomorrow. It's a process, but from one step to the other, for sure, we need to begin this process.
Absolutely. Maybe not daily, but we should try to start a little bit, step by step. Of course, as you correctly said, we cannot think to tell to the people, please stop sushi from now on, of course. But maybe
I love sushi, but
I love sushi. I love sushi as well, as I love Mexican food, frankly speaking.
Yes, the same.
Course, exactly. Maybe yes, step by step. But I think that from this conversation, the most important lesson that the takeaway is, let's reconnect us with the nature, with Mother Nature, with the nature, also from the food viewpoint, and from the emotions that we can obtain by staying in the nature. And then from there, let's start. It could be a good start. Thank you, Andrea, again. Thank you, Juanjo.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Andrea. Have a nice week and enjoy your holidays. And perfect. I will hope to see you next time or next year in the next Food Design Festival. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Ciao, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.